Okay. I Instagram. Hello. Zoom. Good. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Obidigbo Chima, GB signatures, the lost dad scavengers. Okay. Reed, Cynthia, Henry Praise. Thank you all for joining. Please share the link. Thank you for joining us on Zoom. And thank you for joining us on YouTube. All right. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes more and then we can start just to see if we can get those of you who are already on, please share the link. Please share the link. Instagram, can you please confirm that you can hear me? Folks on Instagram, can you please confirm? Just type in the comment section if you can hear me, please. Folks on Instagram, can you please type if you can hear me? Zoom, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right, thank you. Hi, Pastor Kaj. Thank you so much. Always a delight to have you. Thank you. All right, Chima, you can hear me. That's great. All right, GB signatures, you can hear me. That's great. Okay, I think we're good. I mean, this is being recorded, so there's always that possibility that people can watch later. So welcome to the roundtable. Today we're looking at very interesting subject matter. And I'd like to start with, a question that might shake you a little. My question is, the person you married 5 years ago, 20, 15 years ago, even 2 years ago, is that the same person that you're married to today? Think about it. I mean, ask yourself, if you're married, ask yourself that question. Are you the same person? You know what? Life has a way of changing all of us. Career shift, bodies age, mindsets transform, dreams evolve. And experts say we change roughly every 5 to 7 years. I was at a program not too long ago, now, I think about a month ago now, and the speaker said that herself and her husband go for marriage counseling every five years because research says that couples change every 5 years. I mean, I guess I had known it, but I wasn't, I was taken aback by the exactness of that comment. And so it got me thinking, you know. So, but you know what? We all know that people change, Marriages don't remain static. In fact, if not well managed, they break under the weight of unacknowledged change. So thank you. This is the roundtable with Noruwa Edopolo. It's always a pleasure. We meet here 8 p.m. every Wednesday, every first and third Wednesday of the month. We talk leadership, we talk relationships. Even though for quite a bit now we've been dwelling on relationships, maybe one of these days I will pivot into leadership again. But today we're talking about relationships, navigating the seasons, all right? Navigating. We want to find out what happens when, navigating the seasons of marriage. We change, we evolve, all right? We become something else as we grow in the relationship. And like I always like to do at this point, just to put out a disclaimer that whatever we say here are the views of, myself, or sometimes when I have guests, I'm not representing anybody beyond myself. So If you are quoting me, just know that you are quoting me and not me in any of the other capacities in which you know me. Today, we're going to unpack this particular topic together, and I'm going to adopt a slightly different approach. I'm going to do a Q&A. I've got a couple of questions that I've lined up. I'm going to be asking those questions, then I'm going to be answering those questions. Along the way, if you have questions to ask, please feel free. At the time, I would let you ask your questions. If you have comments to make, I would allow you to, make your comments. So that's the approach we want to adopt today. I'm going to be asking the questions and I'm going to be providing answers, which I hope would help us, on this journey. Somebody said, why do people say that individuals change every 5 years? Is this claim backed by scripture or is it just theory? All right. Psychologically, studies show that our personalities, our goals, our outlooks evolve roughly every 5-year cycle due to new experiences, roles, and learning. As I was preparing for this episode today, I kept looking at myself and I realized that indeed I have changed. The things that interest me, the books I read, the things that move me are not the same things that moved me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, all right? Even as I look at my children, the way I brought up my firstborn and my secondborn 30, 20 plus years ago is totally different from the way I'm bringing up, my son, who is just 10 years old, So yes, I concede that change actually does happen. And the Bible, says that times and seasons will never cease. So even God has created life to be in seasons, not stagnation. All right. Growth was God's original design. We see it in nature. We see it in relationships. We see it in leadership. So yes, we do change. All right. And so marriage is no different from any other human, endeavor. All right. People change. So if human beings change, it follows therefore that human beings in marriage change. Okay. Second question says, if change is inevitable, why do some couples expect their marriages to remain static? Can I tell you why? Because we crave security and certainty. All right? Think about it. Those of you who are church people, it's very likely you sit in the same place in church. Who assigned you to that place? We are habit-forming animals. We just want to keep things the way they are. All right? Many of us marry with a silent assumption that will remain the same. The person I fell in love with 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago will remain that same person. But that's not true. Part of the reason why we are afraid is because change brings instability. But guess what? Refusing to adapt is what causes the instability. Love must grow up. It must mature. It must evolve like we do individually. And if you think about it sometimes, you hear all the stories of, the couple that went abroad and then the woman became uncontrollable, etc., 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 and all of that. What has happened to that couple? It is that there has been change. And whereas the wife was changing, the man either refused to change, was unable to change, or resisted change. In other words, he knew that change had come, but he had made up his mind that he wasn't going to change. Okay? And that decision is what led to the fracas and what led to the, divorce or separation, as the case may be. Now, how does Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, our third question, how does this speak to the reality of seasons in marriage? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 says, there is a time and a season for everything under the heavens. It teaches us that in every area of life, including marriage, there are seasons. Season of romance, of raising the children, of building careers, health challenges, empty nesting, old age. I mean, here I am, the person speaking to you today. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to preach in a particular church. And as I just sat there, just before I went up, to start speaking, it occurred to me that the first time I interacted with that church, I was in my NYSC uniform. I was a youth corper. That was my first interaction with that church. And from being a youth corper, here I was this number of years later in that same church, and this time I'm a grandfather. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the seasons I have passed through from being a youth corper to becoming a grandfather in that church? All right. So change happens. Okay. And if we ignore the seasons, and the different seasons call us to love differently, call us to a different type of understanding. The different seasons call us to a different type of sacrifice. Ignoring the seasons is like wearing winter clothes in summer. It will suffocate the relationship. And so we must therefore, accept that change happens. All right. If you are just joining us, this is the round table with Norua Edopolo. And tonight we are discussing navigating the seasons of marriage. We are live on Zoom, on YouTube, and on Instagram. All right. Please share the link. Let's get more people to join us. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and follow us, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram. Thank you so much, Lara Cookie. Thank you so. Oh, hi, ma'am. VFC. Good to have you here, ma'am. Thank you. All right. So change occurs. All right. Question 4 says, what are some practical examples of how a spouse might change over the years? All right. Number 1, career. Job loss, promotion can change your confidence or stress levels. Okay. Um, you know, you're a different animal as a manager as opposed to general manager, CEO, or COO. Believe me, power intoxicates. All right. And so, something happens to you as you rise up the ladder when you suddenly discover you can command. And this happens both to male and female, but sometimes it's even more interesting from the female perspective. Okay. Sometimes when a woman is in executive position, she forgets that her husband is not one of those people who report to her in the office. So there's that friction. So change can occur from a career perspective. Change can occur from an emotional place. All right. Betrayal, grief, spiritual awakening can transform your life. All right. Your spouse that was just anyhow suddenly gets born again and everything changes. All right. Your spouse that was, maybe in the course of the relationship, you've been unfaithful to your spouse or your spouse has been unfaithful to you, even though you would say that you have forgiven, even though you would say that you put it behind you. But the truth of the matter is that you may have taken some decisions to say, well, you know what? I mean, I'm invested in this relationship, but no longer 100% because of what I've seen. Okay. And so that is a dimension that can happen. Of course, our bodies, whether you like it or not. I have gray hair now, you know. A dear friend of mine has gone totally bald, just to get away from combing and nursing the hair, just gone totally bald. So we do change, all right? Health issues, aging can change our energy, our libido, our perceptions of attractiveness, all right? Whether you like it or not, the body begins to, change. The figure eights and all those things may not be there as it was at 25, now that you're 55. All right. How about dreams? Sometimes we have new ambitions. Sometimes we abandon old ones, oh, I wanted to be XYZ, but this number of years later, I discovered that ABC is better for me. And so therefore, what is said, Tim Keller said, the person you married at 25 won't be the same at 40. That's the truth without sugarcoating, brethren. The person you married at 25 will not be the same at 40. Definitely not the same at 50 or at 70. Okay. Question number 5 says, How can couples intentionally grow together rather than grow apart during these changes? So now that we've established that change occurs, question now is, how can we be deliberate, all right, to ensure that we are growing properly? Number one, scheduling intentional check-ins, being curious about each other, asking deep questions, questions like, what is God teaching you in this season? Or how can I love you better? All right. Growth is inevitable. Growing together is intentional. In other words, if you don't service your relationship, anything can go wrong. Okay. Question number 6 is, why do many people avoid being honest? Why do they avoid having honest check-in conversations about their marriage seasons? You'll be amazed that many couples are unable to have this kind of conversation. Why? Because it is uncomfortable. Pride whispers, we're fine. Fear will ask, what if we're too far apart to reconnect? Busyness will say, let's do it another day. But guess what? Waiting until crisis hits is like never servicing your car until it breaks down on the highway. And that's what has happened to many marriages. Okay? Breaks down on the highway. So, you know, I mean, sometimes, and in my work as a coach, marriage coach, people come to me and I'm like, I can't understand why you and your spouse cannot sit down and have these conversations. And they will say, you don't understand. He won't listen. She won't listen. Her mind is made up. His mind is made up, and on and on and on. Okay. So question 7 says, maybe at this point, let me pause just to hear from you. Do you have a question? Do you have a comment based on what we've discussed so far? Do you have a question? Do you have a comment? I'll be glad to take it. Let me hear from you. YouTube people, you can type. Those of you who are in the Zoom room with me, you can unmute to speak. And folks on Instagram, please feel free to put in your comments. Jumoke Osaji, are you asking to join the live video or did you just press the button by mistake? Please type in the comment section and let's see. Yes, I'm Liz. I'd like to hear from you. Yes, thank you. I agree that maintaining communication is critical. Yes, ma'am. Lara Cookie, I agree with you. And that is the crux. How do we maintain communication? How easy is it for us to have those communications? How easy is it for us to have those, deep conversations that we need? Yes, please, let's have comments. Folks on Zoom, you have the privilege of unmuting, putting on your camera, unmuting yourself and speaking. So I'd like to hear from you. We've gone on to we just finished question number 6. First question was, why do people say that individuals change every 5 years? Second question, if change is inevitable, why do so many couples expect their marriage to remain static? Third question, how does Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 speak to the reality of seasons in marriage? Fourth question, what are some practical examples of how a spouse can change over the years? May I ask, maybe this number 4 question, what do you think? What are some practical examples of how a spouse can change over the years? How have you changed? Hello, Ibukun Odu, Adebayo, Bukonla, Tiamiu Moro Moke, Idoko Sunday, Okolawon Olayemi, Tiamiu Samuel, Olatunde, Olufemi, Oluyide, Ologun. How have you changed over the years? Kachala Malgui, how have you changed over the years? Jumoke, Lara, Shola, GB Signatures, Chima, how have you changed over the years? Okay, it's a general attitude to life, remaining adaptable and keeping communication open. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, how have you changed over the years? I mean, I can tell you for myself, like I said, I'm a bit more, how do I describe it now? A bit more patient, okay? I'm a bit more patient. I'm a bit more thoughtful. I think I am also a little, I'm not as selfish as I used to be. I'm more considerate now, I'm like, what would be best for my wife, what would be best for the children? What would be best for those around me? I think that I've become a little bit more considerate of others, in terms of maybe my faith. I find that I'm a bit more trusting. I believe God more now than before. The things that used to scare me. Thank you. All right. Somebody here says, let's see. Let me read this chat. Please feel free to unmute. Um, let's see. Yes, I'm trying to read the chats. Okay, over the years, our interests change. Over time, we suddenly discover that some things that used to be important to us that we even fought over we have just become more tolerant. So true. So true. So true. So true. Yes. Now there's an aspect of change that worries me or that scares me. And that is when couples just, you know, I think I'm a better listener. Great. I think so too. When couples just, grow apart to the point where they can barely stand each other. I find that, you know, um, a bit of a challenge. What happened? How did you go from lovers who couldn't do without each other to the point where you can barely tolerate each other? What happened? How did you transit from lovers, if you like, to haters? How? Yes, I'd like to hear from you. Please share your thoughts. I like this to be interactive. I like this to be interactive. Please share your thoughts. Yes, anybody, how do people go from, lovers to becoming almost like sworn enemies? What happened? Where did the shift come from? Yes, anybody? And so question number 6 was, why do many people avoid honest check-in conversations about their marriage seasons? Life, vicissitudes of life, unmet expectations. Wow. Yeah. 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 Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you for all your contributions. So why do we avoid having those conversations? Why are you finding it difficult? Or if it's easy for you, why is it easy for you? Okay. Somebody said pride whispers we're fine. In other words, let's not go there, we're good. Misalignment of goals and planned. Yes, Ola, please go ahead. Misalignment. Okay. Okay, when there's a break in communication. Okay. Okay, when there's a break in communication, I'm becoming more attentive and considerate. Good to hear that. Beautiful. I like the way you are changing, you are transforming. That's a good one. Becoming more attentive, and considerate. I think that's also happening with me. It's less about me and more about the other person, you know. So sometimes people are just proud, they don't want to own that there's a problem. Yeah. At other times, they're afraid that they've gone so far apart that reconnecting is almost impossible. At other times, they pretend to be busy and they postpone the evil day. Okay? He said, but waiting until crisis hits is like never servicing your car until it breaks down on the highway. That's a dangerous place to be. If you are just joining us, this is the round table with Norua Edopolo. And today we are discussing navigating the seasons of marriage. We are live on Zoom, we are live on YouTube, we are live on Instagram. Thank you very much, Okolawon Olayemi. Thank you. Oh, the internet connection is weak. Really? Ah, wow. I'm sorry. I actually have more than one link here. So Instagram people, can you hear me loud and clear? Somebody says the link is weak. Is that the same for everybody? Instagram, please let me know. Are you hearing me loud and clear? Ibukun Odu says, I believe this may happen if one party seems obstinate in the beginning and the other party had to always be tolerant. But if the person gets to the breaking point, that party suddenly begins to revolt and may not want to stop. Yes. In other words, it's like I'm the one who has always been saying sorry, 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 sorry. A time will come, I will say, you know what, to hell, and then it becomes a problem. We'll now have two people who are daggers drawn. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Ibukun. All right. So now we ask my question number 7. YouTube is okay. All right. Thank you, Pastor Catch. Thank you. Instagram, how is the signal? Is it loud and clear? It says, what are the dangers of spiritualizing problems in marriage without addressing them practically? What do you think when we spiritualize things? What do you think are the challenges when we spiritualize things? It says, I believe this may happen if one party seems to be obstinate in the beginning and the other party had always been tolerant, but if the person gets to breaking point, that party suddenly begins to revolt and may not want to stop. Okay. It's clear here. Okay. All right. Somebody says it's clear there on Instagram. Thank you very much, Chima. So, guys, let's talk about this issue of, spiritualizing problems. And this is very prevalent in my space, church people, born again Christians, etc., etc. You are praying about it. Yes, prayer is good, prayer is powerful, but guess what? Faith without works is dead. James chapter 2, verse 26. Sometimes the time we spend on the mountain would have been more productive if you had sat down with your spouse to pray, to discuss. Sometimes the Bible says, if your brother has aught against you, leave your sacrifice, go to your brother, make peace with your brother, and then come back and give your sacrifice. So therefore, if you are at war with your spouse and instead of you to resolve it, you go and pray, you can spend forever on the mountain. Not much is going to happen because you have not followed the word of God. Somebody said, I'm emotionally stronger and more analytical about issues. Great, great, great. That's good. Good to hear that. All right. So, why do we spiritualize things? Sometimes we hide under the banner of prayer. Guess what? God expects us to act wisely. If communication is broken, get counseling. If finances are mismanaged, get training. Hey, Bayo, hi. Or Hiaifo, my brother, how now? Longest time. Okay. So, if communication is broken, get counseling. If finances have been mismanaged, get training. So, in addition to prayer, you want to ask yourself, what steps can I take to strengthen this relationship in addition to prayer? All right. What steps can I take to strengthen this relationship in addition to prayer? So prayer and practical obedience, they go hand in hand. Take note of that. Prayer and practical obedience, they go hand in hand. You don't sacrifice one for the other, all right? Rather, you take them pari passu. And that's very, very important. Do not spiritualize it. Don't cover it up with prayer, for God's sake. Talk to your spouse. And if you need help, seek help. Question number 8. It says, what do biblical couples like Abraham and Sarah or Hosea and Gomer teach us about evolving through seasons in marriage? What can we learn from them? Abraham and Sarah endured waiting and disappointment, yet they stayed committed. All right. You can literally walk through fire and water and brimstone if your spouse is on your side and the Lord is on your side. All right. So Abraham and Sarah, they endured the waiting season together. Don't tell your spouse, you're on your own. You are the one, the reason why we don't have children. Even if that were the case, you are in it together. Okay? Hosea and Gomer, they show that restoration is possible even after betrayal. I don't know who is listening to me or who will eventually hear this at some point in your journey of life. If your spouse has been unfaithful to you, God is more than able to give you the grace to forgive and to move on. All right? It's a marriage journeys through multiple seasons, and God's grace remains present in each of those seasons. Question 9 says, what are some practical strategies couples can implement today to ensure that they are adapting to each other's changes? Okay, so now we're getting very practical. What can you do? Number one, schedule monthly marriage meetings to review things, your finances, your intimacy, your dreams. All right? Schedule those meetings, have those conversations. Let's stop pretending that everything is well. Talk about it. How are you feeling? What's happening? Are you good? Is your tank empty? Is your emotional tank empty? Is it half full? Is it brimming over? Okay? So do that. And sometimes you can actually, yeah, somebody says spiritualizing issues make most couples take advantage of each other. I agree with you absolutely. I agree with you absolutely. Gaslighting in the name of Jesus. That's what they call it. Gaslighting in the name of Jesus. When you spiritualize everything, you're supposed to be submissive to me. Have you loved me unconditionally to demand for me to submit? All right. You're supposed to love me as the man. Have you submitted to me unconditionally to demand that I love you? Okay. So we have said practical things you can do, schedule monthly marriage meetings where both of you sit down and you talk about you, the marriage, not the children, not the ministry, not the business, but how are we? Are you satisfied? Are there issues? All right. Is something bothering you? What is it about me that needs to change to make you feel better? All right. And if you can, read at least one marriage book a year. Okay. Okolawon says, creating time to communicate one another, suspending our phones. I agree with you. Will help foster and keep our marriage stronger and better. I agree with you, sir. All right. Revisit your vows and on your anniversaries. In fact, um, I'm planning a program in church where the couples, have a night out, and we actually, in the course of that program, we would what's the word now? We would revisit our marital vows. Okay, we'll revisit our marital vows. I'm planning that program sometime before the end of this year. I will announce it. Anybody who is interested will open it up to you. All right. I will announce it. Okay. And also seek counsel together. I'm happy that more and more people are becoming aware of the need for marriage counseling, marriage coaching. As a pastor, we are like GPs, general practitioners. But the truth of the matter is that in addition to just being a pastor, most of us have our areas of calling. Some people are called into the evangelistic, ministry, some to deliverance ministry, some to the teaching ministry. Some of us, in addition to the pastoral call, have a call to relationships, to couples, all right? I mean, by the grace of God, I have run mentoring sessions for married people, for married men, not once, not twice. Not, in fact, right now, I have one cohort ongoing, a mentoring session, for married people. So, yes, some of us have that as a ministry in addition to being pastors. And there are others who are just outright marriage coaches and counselors. Seek them out, not because there's a crisis, but because you want to avert a crisis. So you are going to say, you know what? We are 5 years old in marriage, we are 15 years old in marriage, we are 20 years old in marriage, and we just feel that we need to service our marriage. All right. And you can book 2, 3 sessions, 4, 5 sessions, and you are good to go. All right. Those who are just joining us, thank you so much for joining. Today, we are looking at navigating the seasons of marriage. We've established that we change. The person you married 5, 10, 15, 22, even 6 months ago is not the same person you are living with now. Question now becomes, how do you ensure that the changes bode well for you and not otherwise? Okay. We have our final question. What is God's ultimate desire for marriages as it evolves over the years? And how can we align to that? What does God really want for our marriage? God desires maturity, not just survival. In John chapter 15 and verse 2, it says, He prunes fruitful branches so they can bear more fruit. Pruning is uncomfortable, but is necessary. All right. So align by embracing change, seeking his guidance daily, loving your spouse as Christ loves the church sacrificially, patiently, and unconditionally. I mean, those of you who are a bit, close to us will recognize that even as a couple, we are navigating a season of change. We're navigating a season of change. And the other day I was saying to my wife that, in fact, there's an exercise that follows this teaching. If you send me a private message, I will forward it to you. Both of us sat down together and we over the phone, over a video call, began to look at each of those steps. I asked her questions, she asked me questions. How are you doing? How is our relationship? How are you feeling about us? What do I need to do differently to make you feel better? What do you need to do differently to make me feel better? All right. So God wants us to mature. God wants us to, deepen our relationship with Him. And so, dear friends, as we begin to wind down today, before I begin to take your questions or your comments, I want you to know that growth is not your enemy. Stagnation is. All right. Your spouse is changing, and so are you. Question is, will you grow together? All right, or will you grow apart? There is no, at any point in time, something is happening. You are either growing together or you are growing apart. There is no, neutral ground. Okay. So I like to say to you, start the conversation, ask those questions, seek God's wisdom, all right? And as I wait for your questions, your comments, and your observations, I just want to very quickly, sorry, guys, on Instagram, you won't be able to see this. I want to share my e-commerce website just to, give you a little hint on some of the things that I have on that website. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Yes, if you can see my screen, it is seller, www.seller. Seller is selar.com/m/Norua-Joseph-Edopolo1. Those of you who are on Zoom and on YouTube, you can see it. So this is a program that I'm presently marketing, leveraging AI for ministry. Okay, leveraging AI for ministry. What am I doing with this? Artificial intelligence has come to stay. It has come to stay. It's here with us. Okay. The earlier we get into it, the better for us. Okay. And so this one-day program is supposed to be an eye-opener that introduces us to the concepts of artificial intelligence and how we can use it for ministry and other aspects of life. Good to note, I got a call from outside of Lagos, and some elders invited me to come and train them on how elders can understand and use artificial intelligence even as elders. This is a training, this particular one, Start and Grow Your Business. Remember, this is a training that will help you to, evolve your business, to recognize how to start it, develop a business idea, etc. It's a coaching program. It's 8 weeks, and it's, we do it virtually. I'll take you step by step how to develop a business idea, how to write a business plan, etc. This next one is my book. This book is called On Your Marks, a Business Startup Handbook. I wrote this book to share my experience as a business owner so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. I have a life coaching product. Where are you? Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? That's what this is about. Okay, that's 25,000 naira per session. I have relationship coaching, husband and wife. Can we get this thing better? Like we're talking about now, as to servicing your relationship, that's the product for you. This is another product that discover your life purpose. Life coaching is a bit broad. This is more specific, as in, what exactly am I here for? What does God want me to do with my life? That is what discovering your life purpose is all about. The Men of Valor is right now, this particular program is closed until the new year because already I have a cohort that is ongoing. So if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to me. And these are some of my books, Unlocking AI-Powered Speech Repurposing, how you can do so much more with AI. This is one of the, if you like, my bestseller, Naked, The Mystery of Openness in Marriage. There are so many testimonies from all over the world as to how this book has challenged people, changed lives, and healed marriages. Okay. And then, of course, AI and Ministry, How to Do More for the Kingdom. That's another book that is specific. I'm very particular about church people being able to use technology to advance the gospel. All right. So you can always come back here and check my e-commerce page, and whatever product you'd like, it'd be my pleasure to offer it to you. So as we begin to wind down, oh hi, Ayokpeju, good to have you here. All right, Grandma, good to have you here.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, ma. How are you? Esang Bedu Lillian, good to have you here. So,
Good evening,
that's
Pastor.
yes. So questions, comments, observations, I'll be glad to receive them now. We've talked about how to navigate the seasons of marriage, and I try to approach it by asking 10 questions and answering those 10 questions. And so if you have a question for me, please go ahead and ask. This has been the round table with Norua Edokpolo, and we've talked about how to navigate the seasons of change in your marriage. By God's grace, we'll be meeting again on the third Wednesday of this month. That would be the 16th, Wednesday the 16th. Is our next meeting. This is the first Wednesday. The third Wednesday, Wednesday the 16th, is our next meeting. I look forward to having you there. So do we have one last comment or question before we wind down for today?
Quick question.
Yes,
Is
go
there
ahead.
a recording?
Yes, it's on YouTube. So,
Oh,
it's,
okay. Okay.
yeah, it's live on YouTube. Just search for the round table with Norowa Edopola and, you get it. We're actually live on YouTube now. And afterwards, if you go to that, my YouTube channel and just click on the live session, you will see it there on YouTube. Right. Any other question? Any other comment? I'm thinking of doing something on second marriage. I don't know yet, I'm toying with the idea.
What do you mean second married?
Or anybody who, for whatever reason, was once married and now wants to get married again.
Oh, please, you should do it. You should do it.
My focus will not be on how you became single again, widower, divorcee, blah, blah, blah. That's not the purpose. I'm just going to take it from the point of you want to remarry. So what are the things to look out for and all of that? That's something I'm thinking about. I don't know if I've done it before. I know I have a teaching along those lines. I don't know if I've done it before. Maybe I will do that on the 16th. I'm not sure yet.
Please do it. Do it. I'll make sure I attend.
All right, all right. Yes, questions, comments before we wind down for today. Thank you so much, everyone who has been part of this. I really, really appreciate you. If you haven't done so already, wherever you are joining me from, please subscribe, like, follow. Okay, Ibukun says, when there is communication breakdown in marriage, what's the way forward? Wow. Okay. Um, it depends. I would say seek counsel because communication breakdown means that two of you are no longer communicating. So you now need an intermediary. You need somebody who will be a go-between, that will help you. So that person will act as a neutral arbiter. All right. That's what I will advise. Start with your pastor or a trusted, family member. That's a good place to start so that then that person will help you to trace the genesis, what happened, why, when, and then, hopefully the parties involved genuinely fear God and they want to honor God with their marriage. If that's the case, it should be easy to solve. Usually becomes a challenge when the people involved are not really keen on glorifying God. That's when people hold on to their positions. Okay. Yes. Any further question or comments before we wind down? All right. Thank you so much, everybody. See you on the 16th by the grace of God. Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Buku. Of course, if you need my services, please feel free to get in touch. I'll be more than delighted to share with you. Now, there is a questionnaire that have developed that goes with this teaching. It's something you can use to have that review meeting with your spouse. If you're interested, send me a private message and I will send that document to you for free. God bless you. Good night and have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful
Good
evening.
night.
Thank you.